Alright guys, how you doing? It's Rabea, I hope you're all well. So this is a video brought to you in association with the guys at Seymour Duncan, so it is a sponsored video. Seymour Duncan, we all know for their incredible sounding pickups, and they even got into the world of pedals quite a few years back. I have demoed quite a few different things from Seymour Duncan, but they got in touch and said, we've got a new pedal coming out that we think you might be into. It's essentially a distortion and a boost that's aimed at the kind of, you know, late 70s, 80s hair metal era, and then some, you know, I suppose more contemporary sort of high gain tones. It's really aimed at those that want to play lots of lead, liquid sustain, like a nice boost that can push the front of your amp, so you can get anywhere from like a chiny clean, push clean, and a crunch through to just like soaring high gain for lead and shred and stuff like that. So I was like, yeah, I think that's up my street, so send it over, we'll check it out. So in this video, it's the Diamond Head multi-stage distortion and boost. There's a couple of cool little features on here, but it's no crazy complex pedal to get your head round. As you can see on the close-up camera, it's pretty straightforward. We've got 3-band EQ along the top, which gives us 13 dB boost or cut from the bass, middle and treble. Then we've got a 15 dB boost on the next row down, left to right. You can see you can boost up to 15 dB of boost, and you can actually use that independently as a boost into the front of your amp as well, which is really cool. Then you've got the level of the overall distortion side in the middle, and then you've got the amount of gain as well on the distortion side. And then just beneath the gain control, there's a little toggle switch, which is saturation. So it adds an extra gain stage of saturation, which really does take you into those liquid sustain, high gain, shreddy kind of tones. And that's basically how the pedal works. It was built in the USA, Seymour Duncan, and I'm going to use my Fender 61 custom shop Strat because it's been quite a while since I've had a go with that. I've got the Music Man JP15 for some higher gain stuff. I might even crack out the Bazza, the old ML3 beer baritone, see if we can get some heavier, disgusting, dirty riffage tones from this pedal as well. Let's try it out. Okay, so I've got the guitar. I'm running into the front of the Rev D20 because it's a great pedal platform amplifier and it's already hooked up in my rig. I've been doing so many pedal demos recently that it's just easier to keep it set up, and it sounds great, so there you go. Also, reverb and delays coming from the Apollo X8P interface from Universal Audio. I'm going to start with some reverb just because it's more of a cleany thing. So this is the sound of the source tone, little bit of hair from the D20. This is how it sounds. So there you go, that is the sound of the source tone. I'm going to start a little bit unorthodox here. I'm going to start with the boost because the boost is currently set halfway. It's 15 dB boost in total, but I just want to hear how it pushes the front of the amp. So this is before, and here we go. Sounds really great. I'm getting carried away because it sounds really great, but let's check out the range of that boost. So because because there's a little bit of crunch on the amp, you know, it's getting louder. If that was straight into a clean, uncompressed, you'd really hear a jump, but you know me, I always love to blend a little bit of the gain stage from any amp I use with the pedal. I just think it sounds better. So this is the boost on full. I really like the boost side as it is. It's really, really good. So for now, let's leave that off because, you know, it's a boost, and we'll throw that back in later when we want to use more gain and things like that. So for now, let's carry on with the distortion side. So I'm going to have the distortion all the way off, EQ at halfway, everything else at halfway. Saturation mode not engaged. So this is the amp again without anything. And here comes the distortion with 0 or very little gain. So even with the gain all the way off, you know, it's still a really nice sort of broken up tone. I'm into that. So, okay, let's try the saturation switch and see how much that affects the pedal of kind of 0'd and 12'd and all that stuff. That's really effective, and it's an extra gain stage, but it really does sound great even with the gain down. Okay, let's boost the gain. So with the gain up at halfway, it's really just sounding great. I mean, I can't really fault it so far. It's a nice saturation, it's a nice gain, it's a nice, you know, it lets through a lot of the clarity and a lot of the chord definition, and there's a nice touch and response to it. I wouldn't necessarily say it's like a smooth distortion. It's definitely like aimed for a kind of gainier, more articulate sort of lead player. So let's carry on. Let's throw on the saturation switch. So with the saturation switch on, with the gain at halfway, it's great on a Strat. That really does sound nice to me. For like a high gain kind of Strat tone that you can still control, it's got enough sustain, you can hear everything that's going on. Even on the neck pickup, it had a stratty, bluesy snap to it, even with all that gain. So yeah, I really like that, especially with the Strat. And that's just with the pedal at everything at noon. So we haven't even touched on, you know, adding more gain, contouring things with the EQ and stuff like that. Might be worth just having a quick look at the EQ since we're on it before changing guitars. So this is what we can get from the EQ. I'm just going to drop the gain down a little bit. So as you could hear just then, the EQ is quite powerful, and I've barely touched it now. I've dipped off the treble, I've boosted the mid a bit and boosted the low a bit, and listen to the difference. It's way more present in the mid-range, way wider. So let me go back to what it was. So you can quite clearly hear how influential the EQ is, but it's nice because the pedal's well tuned with everything at noon, so it really is just a case of wanting to accent the mid-range or, like, you know, just tiny tweaks really with the EQ. I don't think it's a massive, you know, broad strokes EQ there, but yeah, it sounds really good. And as I said before, you've got level control, you've got the boost. Let's just try the boost just because we're here. So that's a lot of gain. I mean, particularly with the boost thrown in, it's just hitting the front of that even harder with, like, what's that, halfway? It's like 7 or 8 dB of boost. So suddenly it gets quite intense. Great on the bridge for all the lead and sustain. The neck pickup got a little bit undefined, but, you know, it's a lot. So what I'll do now is swap the guitars and we'll try out some higher gain lead tones, and we'll even try the baritone, see what happens there. All right, let's try it. Okay, JP15, it's down in drop C sharp now, I believe. This is how it sounds. Everything is 12 o'clock on the, well, in fact, I'll show you just on its own. So 12 o'clock with just distortion. It's nice. It's almost scooped a little bit. It's like quite a chewy kind of lead tone, rhythm tone. With the gain at 12 o'clock, it's still articulate for lead. You do get a nice bit of like good touch response. Like, it feels good, and it's not too little and not too much. It's a good amount of compression from the pedal, so it feels easy to play and it stays with you. Like the sustain is there, even like that. So, okay, I'm just going to mess around now because we've been over the pedal, and I'm just going to dial in some extra tones and see where we get. This sounds really good, really good. That's the gain nearly on full, haven't touched the saturation or the boost, and it still sounds really good. So, drop the gain. I'm going to drop the gain, and I'm going to use the boost and the saturation to get my drive. So that was a slightly different approach. What I did there, having the gain low, and then using the saturation mode and the boost to give me all my sustain and gain and that sort of stuff. So this is what we started with. This is actually a good demonstration of the steps you can take to kind of use this in a live application. So. Then with the saturation mode in. Which sounds wicked, but then if you just want more, throw on the boost. So far, what I like about this pedal is they told me that it was a late 70s, 80s kind of hair metal, lead tone, shreddy kind of pedal. That's exactly what it feels like. Even with the Strat, it was giving me just such good sustain and the touch and the gain and everything. And then with this was absolutely awesome. Being versatile in the sense that, you know, you can drop the gain but use the saturation and boost to give you a different kind of vibe than if you have the gain all the way up and then just use the boost or something. And then again, a powerful EQ. So I'm really enjoying it. Last but not least, before we wrap up this video, I'm just going to try out the Baritone and see how filthy it can go as well. Okay, I've got my ML3, a Baritone. This has the Ragnarok in it. My other one has my Sig bare knuckle in, which isn't here. So we're using this one with the Ragnarok. This is how it sounds. Straight in, high gain. So the humbucker is really high output. But anyway, let's try with the gain saturation where it is. Let's try that. Okay, so it needs more gain, obviously. Let's try up here. So it's still quite mushy. Let's try drop that off. Throw on the saturation mode. So I think it really works. I actually quite like the way that sounds, particularly given the fact that it's so low and it's so much less defined because it's so low, but it sounds really good. I'm going to drop the gain off and I'm going to put on the boost. Let's try this. So this is the boost, bit low, gain low, saturation in. Not a shred guitar at all, 14 to 68, but it feels good and it sounds great. And that would conclude the Diamond Head multi-stage distortion and boost from Seymour Duncan. I have to say, they called me up and said, yeah, are you interested in demoing this? And I said, yeah, I am, because I'm a fan of like Nuno Bettencourt and the kind of 80s hair metal era is what I kind of grew up playing. So like the Satch tones and just, you know, just high gain, leady, liquidy sustain. That pedal absolutely does that, like easily. That's its first main thing that it does. What I love is also the combination of changing up the type of breakup and saturation and all that stuff by dropping the gain, using the saturation mode and using the boost optionally as well. You can get a different character of high gain from it depending on how you choose to dial it in. The EQ is great, it's subtle, you just use it a little bit here and there just to get rid of a little bit of mid or boost it and widen it and all that kind of stuff. It's really nice. And yeah, there are enough functionality options there with the boost and the switching and the saturation that make it just a great distortion pedal. I mean, and it sounds good. Really enjoyed using it on all three guitars. So yeah, like, thank you Seymour Duncan for sending it over. I'd love to know what you guys think in the comment section. I don't know what the pricing is on this currently. I'll put it in the description box and of course links to the Diamond Head. But if you're in the market for something that's just kind of easy to dial in, can get high gain metal shred tones, and it can even do, you know, pretty heavy riffs as well, then at least consider checking out the Diamond Head from Seymour Duncan. You might dig it. Anyway, thank you for watching this video. All the links and everything in the description box below. Please let me know what you think in the comment section. Like, subscribe and share, and I will see you all very soon.